Christmas morning. I'm in my plow truck, four-wheel drive, struggling through one of the worst snowstorms I've seen in this area. The highway was barely passable. Every side street was blocked. Massive snow banks and drifting snow. And everywhere I looked, cars stuck, buried in snowbanks. People jumping out, waving their arms, trying to flag me down. Help, we're stuck. And you might ask, did I stop? No, I just drove by, kept on, pursuing to the next stop. I waved and kept driving. You can call me cruel, call me a Grinch, call me whatever you want, but it wasn't my emergency. And that decision, that cold, calculated Christmas morning decision, taught me one of the most important business lessons I've ever learned. Not every urgent problem is your problem. I'm Brian Hill. I've owned multiple businesses within the last 20 years. And if you don't learn to tell the difference between what's urgent and what's actually important to you, you'll spend your entire life really just solving other people's problems, while your own goals die on the side of the road. So this is the story of why I became the Grinch on Christmas morning, and you might need to become one too. Let me paint the full picture for you. For a time, I offered snow removal for my residential lawn customers. It was a filler, and the customers understood that I couldn't get to them until I serviced my commercial snow accounts. Usually, it was easy, straightforward, and like I said, it's just a nice filler at the end of the snow. But this Christmas morning, nothing about it was straightforward. It snowed a lot. It's really the worst I've seen in this area, and just how bad the roads were. The main road through town is a highway, so the state made some effort to clear it, but all they did was push it up to every business and street that touched that highway. And the city, they failed miserably. Every street had massive snowbanks blocking them. None of the side streets were even done. And in my four-wheel drive, I struggled to get around. And so I'm slowly making it down the highway, trying to finish my route so I can get to my own Christmas dinner that my family was doing. And that's when I saw them. Cars everywhere, stuck in the snowbanks. And the drivers, as soon as they saw a plow truck coming, they jumped out. They were trying to flag me down. Help us, we're stuck. Their emergency, their urgent situation. Now let me be clear, nobody was hurt. Nobody was in danger. They were just stuck, inconvenienced, frustrated. But here's what could have happened if I stopped. I could have got stuck myself. I could have been hit by someone else because those roads were bad. I could have burned easily hours of time. And, if I did get stuck, it would cost me money to get pulled out. And then really most importantly, I wouldn't have been able to finish my route, serve my customers, who were paying me, and, make the money I needed, and then get to my own family's Christmas dinner. So I waved and kept driving, just smile and wave, boys. Call me a Grinch if you want, but it wasn't my emergency. That Christmas morning forced me to confront a framework that changed how I run my business. It's called the Urgent Important Matrix, and it breaks down every task, every request, every emergency into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 would be important and urgent. These are your real emergencies. Your truck breaks down in the side of the road. You're the one that's stuck. A family member's in the emergency room. Taxes are due this day. These can't wait. You drop everything and you handle them immediately. Quadrant 2 is the most important. It's not urgent. They're important, but not urgent. And this is where you should spend most of your time. Say preventative maintenance on your equipment or vehicles, date night with your spouse, exercise, continuing education, building systems for your business. These things prevent fires instead of just fighting them. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important. This is the trap. This is where most entrepreneurs die. These are other people's emergencies that they bring to you to solve. Someone flags you down because they're stuck. Someone calls with a crisis that's only a crisis to them. Someone needs something done right now. Usually these come in like that. They're like, it's emergent. We got to do it right now. But they have nothing to do with your goals. The fourth quadrant is not important and not urgent. These would just be time wasters. Checking your phone every time it dings, or maybe cleaning out your email box or something. These will fill your day with busy work, but move you zero toward your goals. Those people stuck in the snow on Christmas morning, that was quadrant 3. Urgent to them, not important to me. Again, no one was hurt. They were just inconvenienced. So here's what nobody tells you about running a business. You cannot save everyone. And if you try, you'll destroy your business because you're not serving your customers. Your family time gets compromised because you're solving everyone else's problems. And your goals, you're not going to reach them because you're always reacting instead of building. Most entrepreneurs fail because they live in quadrant 3. They spend their entire day responding to other people's urgent requests. They're busy, they're exhausted, they're helping, but at the end of the day, they've made no progress toward their own goals. They made no money. They're no closer to their destination. That Christmas morning, I had to choose to help strangers, their urgent problem, or finish my route, help my customers, and get to my family, dinner, which was my goal. I chose my goal. And you know what? I'd make that same choice again today because it wasn't my emergency. So how do you do this without being a complete jerk? Identify the quadrant before you respond. When someone brings you an emergency, ask yourself, is this important to my goals? Is this truly urgent or just urgent to them, or really their lack of planning? What happens if I say no? Most of the time, nothing bad happens if you say no to quadrant 3 requests. Step 2, protect quadrant 2. Protect that time ruthlessly. Schedule the important but not urgent things. Do that first. Date night, exercise, system building, continuing education. Because if you don't schedule them, they'll move to quadrant 1 and they'll become an emergency. Step 3, learn to say, not my emergency, and do it without being guilty. You're not being cruel. You're being strategic. You can't serve everyone, and really you're just trying to kill your business and maybe even your health. So here's what I want you to understand. Your time is the most valuable asset you have. More valuable than money, more valuable than equipment, more valuable than inventory. And every time you say yes to someone else's quadrant 3 emergency, you're saying no to your own quadrant 2 priorities. That Christmas morning, if I'd stopped to help everyone stuck in the snow, there's seriously dozens of people who waved me down. I would have not finished my route. I would not served my paying customers. I wouldn't have made any money. I would have risked getting stuck or hit, thus really costing me time or money, if I would have had to get someone to pull me out. And then I would have also missed my family's Christmas dinner. And all those stuck drivers, they got out. I drove by the next day. Those cars were gone. They called a tow truck or figured it out. You know, it wasn't my emergency. Your business will have people waving you down constantly. Help me. I need this right now. It's urgent. Just learn to, wave back, smile and wave, boys, and just keep driving toward your destination. So, yes, call me a Grinch. I drove past desperate people on Christmas morning. But I finished my route. I served my customers. I made the money. And I got to my family's Christmas dinner because I understood something that most entrepreneurs never learn. Not every urgent problem is your problem. The people who succeed in business aren't the ones who help everyone. They're the ones who know which problems are theirs to solve and which ones to drive right on past. So 3 things I need you to do. First, identify what quadrant you're living in right now. Are you constantly reacting to other people's emergencies? That's quadrant 3, and it's killing your business and maybe even your health. Second, schedule your quadrant 2 time first. This is important but not urgent. This is things that actually move you toward your goals. Third, practice saying, not my emergency, and do that without the guilt that comes with it. You can't save everyone, so stop trying. This is an expert from my book, chapter 8 from my book, Business is a Journey, Not a Destination. And this journey is your life. The full chapter covers all 4 quadrants in detail, including the story of my truck literally catching on fire and becoming a quadrant 1 emergency. If this gave you permission to protect your time and stop being everyone's hero, hit that like button, subscribe. I'm Brian Hill. Your journey matters, and sometimes the most important thing you can do is just to, smile and wave and keep driving toward your destination. Thanks for watching.